Good day everyone, I am Arvin Contayoso and this is the discussion of Group 1. Please bear with us as we relearn of history the Philippines under Spain colonization. The purpose of this study is to be able to explain the importance of Pigapita's accounts on the study of Philippine history, to be able to identify and conflicting news to or accounts about the reactions, and lastly to be able to identify and conflicting views about the efforts cry from the revolutions. So before that, what really happened, what really to the Philippines as the colony of Spain. The Philippines was a Spanish colony from 1565 to 1888, lasting over 300 years. Spanish explorations began with Ferdinand Magellan's arrival in 1521, but full colonization started with Miguel Lopez de Legazpi's expedition in 1565. The Spanish established Manila as the capital in 1571, making it a key trade hub in the Manila-Acapulco galleon trade. Spanish rule introduced Catholicism, which became deeply embedded in Filipino culture and reshaped local governance, society, and economy. The Spanish implemented the encomienda system, granting Spanish settlers control over native labor and land, often leading to exploration. Indigenous peoples faced increasing resistance and revolts against Spanish occupations despite the Spanish control over the archipelago remained largely unchallenged until the late 19th century. The Spanish colonial era left a lasting legacy in the Philippines, influencing in language, culture, and religion. It also sparked the rise of Filipino nationalism, eventually leading to the country's independence. The Philippine-Spanish colonial period began with Magellan's arrival in 1521, leading to conquest and resistance against Spanish rule, marked by revolts and cultural clashes. Magellan's arrival in 1521 initiated Spanish interests in the Philippines. Local leaders were converted to Catholicism, altering their cultural landscape. Early alliances formed, but resistance emerged notably from the Lapu-Lapu. Miguel Lopez de Legazpi established Spanish authority in Cebu. The Tondo conspiracy highlights local discontent and resistance against Spanish rule. The encomienda system led to exploitations and hardships for the locals. Revolts request the pigmented showcasing a lack of united resistance. Colonial encounters. The arrival of European powers drastically changed the political and social fabric of the Philippines, leading to the forced conversions and the imposition of foreign rule. The stage for ongoing cultural complex, strategic alliances. Initial alliances with local leaders like Raha Humabon were tactical but often backfired, revealing the complexities of colonial relationships and the potential for betrayal, resistance, and revolts. The press resistance by figures like Lapu-Lapu indicated early signs of national identity, which would evolve over centuries, showcasing the Philippine spirits against oppressions. Exploitations through encomienda. The encomienda system exemplified colonial exploitations where locals faced heavy taxations and forced labor, leading to widespread dissatisfactions. Cultural suppressions. The Spanish efforts to suppress local cultures and impose their one governance created divisions, leading to fragmented oppressing rather than a unified front. Cycles of revolt. The inability of revolts to unite effectively demonstrated the challenge faced by the indigenous populations, highlighting both internal divisions and the effectively supervisions by colonial authorities. Long-term consequences. The repercussions of these early colonial encounters laid the groundwork for future struggles for independence as the seeds of resistance were sowed despite centuries of oppressions.
Log of Francisco Albo. Francisco Albo was a pilot on Magellan's flagship Trinidad. He was one of the 18 people who survived the expedition and circumnavigated the world. He kept a diary throughout the voyage, which is now known to be Albo's log. He described the route of Magellan's expedition to the archipelago of St. Lazarus, now the Philippines. Compared to Pigafetta's account, his work is shorter and only explained the location of the expedition on certain dates. However, Albo's latitude readings and geographic descriptions were able to support the claim of Pigafetta's account. His entries there say they sailed west from Ladrones, now Mariana Islands, on March 16, 1521, and saw an island towards northwest now known as Yunagan, but they did not approach it because it's too shallow. They continued their journey southward where they encountered another small island known as Suluan located in Samar, and anchored there. As they approached the shore, the canoes in the area fled at their sight. They left Suluan Island to sail towards the west and arrive at uninhabited Isle of Gada, cross-referencing this to Pigafetta's account. This is Equada or Humunhun, where they took their supply of water and food. From Gada, they sailed westward toward the inhabited island of Silene, now Leyte. They continued to sail down south the coast of Silene, then turned southwest, reaching the island of Mazava. The people of Mazava were described as very good and showed them how gold was gathered. The Spaniards then planted a cross on the top of its mountain. From where they stand, they were shown three islands to the west and southwest that said to contain much gold. Leaving Mazava, they sailed northwards and went back to Silani. They followed along its coast towards the northwest, where they saw three small islands. From there, they sailed at the west and saw three islets, where they anchored for the night. In the morning, they go southwest until they're down to a latitude of 10 and 1/3 degrees. They sailed down to a channel between two islands called Matan, now Mactan, and Cebu, now Cebu. There they anchored in a town of Cebu, where they made a peace pact with a local king and stayed there for many days. Lastly, Albo's log describes Cebu from Mazava. He said that the town of Cebu was in the east-west direction with the islands of Suluan and Mazava. Between Mazava and Cebu, many shallows were sighted so the boats could not travel directly through the west, but how to go round about, which they did.
Hello everyone, I am Shairami Irintingan, and did you know about the Diary of Antonio Pigafetta? And if not, bear with me and I am going to discuss with you about the Diary of Antonio Pigafetta. Let us know about the journey of Antonio Pigafetta through his diary. Antonio Pigafetta, 1491 to 1534, was an Italian explorer and scholar who accompanied Ferdinand Magellan on the first circumnavigation of the globe, 1519 to 1522. His diary, also known as the Voyage of Magellan, provides valuable insight into the expedition's discoveries, challenges, and encounters with indigenous culture. Key entries. Number 1. Departure from Seville 1590. Pigafetta documents the fleet's departure, comprising 270 men and 5 ships. Number 2. Crossing Atlantic 1520. He described the harsh conditions, mutinies, and the search of Strait of Magellan. Number 3. Strait of Magellan 1520. Pigafetta recounts the challenging navigation through the strait at the tip of South America. Then, number 4. Pacific Ocean 1520 to 1521. He notes the vastness of the ocean, encounters with islanders, and the discovery of Guam and the Philippines. Number 5. Magellan Death 1521. Pigafetta records the Battle of Mactan, where Magellan was killed. Number 6. Return Journey 1522. He documents the struggles, starvation, and eventual return to Spain with only one ship, the Victoria. Historical significance. Number 1. First-hand account. Pigafetta's diary provides a unique eyewitness perspective on the expedition. Number 2. Geographical discoveries. His records help shape European understanding of the world. Number 3. Cultural encounters. Pigafetta's observations offer valuable insight into indigenous culture. Number 4. Navigation achievements. The diary documents the challenges and triumphs of navigating uncharted waters. Number 1. Original manuscript 1525. Pigafetta's diary was handwritten in Italian. Number 2. First printed edition 1536, published in Italian by Giovanni Battista Ramusio. Number 3. English translation 1874 to 1906. Translated by Lord Stanley of Alderley and James Alexander Robertson. For the summary, Antonio Pigafetta, a Venetian scholar and explorer, joined Ferdinand Magellan's expedition to the Spice Island, documenting key experience and the Siouan language.
Good day everyone, I'm Erwin Adarna. I'm going to introduce to you the Journey Explorer of Antonio Pigafetta. Explorer's Journey. Antonio Pigafetta embarked on a legendary expedition under Ferdinand Magellan. Meticulous documentation. He serves as Magellan's assistant, keeping an accurate journal of their journey. Siouan language. His journal became the first recorded document concerning the Siouan language. Tragic loss. Pigafetta continued the voyage after Magellan's death in the Philippines. Circumnavigation. Only 18 of the original 40 men complete the first circumnavigation of the world. Legacy honored. The Italian Navy named a destroyer after him, recognition of his contribution. Inspiring curiosity. His expedition ignited the spirit of exploration in future adventures. In-depth exploration. Pigafetta's early life in a wealthy Venetian family fostered his interest in astronomy and navigation, setting the stage for his future explorations. Historical significance. His journal serves as an invaluable historical source, shedding light on the age of exploration and challenge faced by early explorers. Impact of loss. The death of Magellan highlighted the dangers of exploration, yet Pigafetta's perseverance exemplified the resilience of explorers during that era. Cultural contribution. By documenting the Siouan language, Pigafetta contribute the preservation of indigenous culture, showing the importance of language in understanding diverse society. Recognition of achievements. The honors bestowed upon Pigafetta reflect the lasting impact of his contribution to navigation and explorers' history. Inspiration for future generations. Pigafetta's adventurous spirit continues to inspire modern explorer and adventure, reminding us of the human drive to discover the unknown. Curiosity as a catalyst. His life story illustrates how curiosity can lead to groundbreaking discoveries, encouraging others to pursue their passion and explore the world.
The Blood Compact refers to a historic ritual performed in 1565 between Miguel Lopez de Legazpi, a Spanish explorer, and Raja Colombo, a local chieftain from the island of Bohol in the Philippines. The event symbolized the creation of an alliance between the Spanish and the indigenous Filipinos. The ritual involved both leaders making small incisions on their arms and allowing their blood to mix in a cup, which they both drank as a sign of mutual trust, friendship, and loyalty. For the Spanish, the Blood Compact was an important diplomatic gesture aimed at establishing peaceful relations with local leaders and facilitating the spread of Christianity. For Raja Colombo and other local chieftains, it was a way to ensure the safety and prosperity of their people in the face of Spanish expansion. The act was based on a Filipino tradition where blood compact sealed pacts of alliance, making it a culturally significant gesture. The Blood Compact is seen as one of the first formal interactions between the indigenous Filipinos and the European colonizers, marking the start of Spanish influence in the Philippines. Today, a monument in Bohol commemorates this historic event, which remains a symbol of early Filipino resistance and cooperation during the colonial period. Para sa kabuuan, ang sandugo ay simbolo ng pagkakapatiran at pagkakaisa ng mga ninuno sa pagbubuo ng mga bayan, na nag-uugat sa mga ritual ng dugo at alak. Barangay ay isang ekonomikong unit, hindi pangunahing politikal. Sa Kabisayan, tinatawag itong banwa. Sa Kailokohan, ili. Pinuno ng bayan ay lakan o raha, nagmumula sa mga dato. Sandugo, ritual ng paghalo ng dugo at alak bilang tanda ng pagkakapatiran. Ang sandugo ay nag-uugnay sa bawat individual bilang magkapatid na Magallanes at Pigafetta. Sandugo noong 1521, simbolo ng pagkilala. Pamumuno ng dato. Ang papel ng dato bilang pinuno ng clan ay nagpapakita ng tradisyonal na struktura ng liderato sa mga komunidad na nagiging batayan na pagkakaisa sa pagbuo ng bayan. Ritual ng sandugo. Ang sandugo ay higit pa sa pisikal na pagkakaisa. Ito ay isang espiritual na pagtanggap at pagtatapat sa isa't isa na nag-uugnay sa mga tao sa mas malalim na antas ng katapatan. Kapatiran. Ang konsepto ng pagkakapatiran na ipinahayag sa sandugo at nagtataguyod ng ideya na ang mga tao, kahit hindi makakapamilya, ay may responsibilidad at katapatan sa isa't isa. Makabayan ng sandugo. Ang ritual na ito ay hindi lamang isang tradisyon, kundi isang simbolo ng pagkilala at paggalang sa mga dayuhan na nagbibigay diin sa halaga ng pagkakaisa at pagkakaunawaan sa kabila ng mga pagkakaiba.
So let's proceed to the next topic, which is the first Mass. On March 31, 1521, Easter Sunday, Ferdinand Magellan held the first Catholic Mass in the Philippines. It was led by Father Pedro Valderrama near the shore of an island. This Mass introduced Christianity to the island, which were not yet called the Philippines. Local chiefs Colombo and Sayui, along with other natives, attended the Mass. Antonio Pigafetta, who wrote about the journey, described the Easter Sunday Mass but didn't give details about other Masses like one on Palm Sunday in 1520. He also didn't mention a Mass held earlier in San Julian or the exact dates on some ceremonies. Before reaching the Philippines, Magellan's crew first saw the island of Samar on March 16, 1521. They rested on a nearby uninhabited island, and on March 18, they met a group of 9 local men. Magellan and his crew stayed in the area for a while, helping their sick members recover. So overall, Magellan's journey brought Christianity to the Philippines, starting with the first Mass in 1521. It shows how explorers met new people and how these meetings changed cultures and traditions. This event shaped Filipino history and reminds us how discoveries can change the world.
The Limsawa Law, also known as Republic Act Number 2733, was passed on June 19, 1960, without the executive branch consent. Magallanes is located east of the island of Limasawa, and the legislative fiat said that the site in Magallanes, Limasawa Island in the province of Leyte, where the first Mass in the Philippines was held, is hereby declared a national shrine to commemorate the birth of Christianity in the Philippines. On the top of a hill overlooking Barangay Magallanes, Limasawa, Imelda Marcos had a multi-million peso shrine of the first Holy Mass constructed in 1984. The structure was composed of steel, bricks, and polished concrete. This was totally destroyed a few months later by a major typhoon. In 2005, another shrine was dedicated. Limasawa commemorates the momentous and religious arrival of the Spaniards on March 31st, which is symbolically beginning. Through a cultural performance and commemoration celebration called Sinugtan. Since the beginning of 16th century, the first had been investigating the Philippines. During the Battle of Mactan, since the beginning of the 16th century, the Spanish had been investigating the Philippines. During the Battle of Mactan, the two Lapu-Lapu soldiers killed Portuguese navigator Ferdinand Magellan, who was leading a Spanish expedition to cross the world. Roy Lopez de Villalobos reached the location in 1543, named the islands of Leyte and Samar Las Islas Filipinas in honor of Philip Spain, who was the Prince of Asturias at that time, when his father, Charles I of Spain, who also held the title of Charles V, Holy Roman Emperor, abdicated the Spanish crown on January 16, 1556. Philip took over as King of Spain. Due to European politics, the warfare in Northern Europe. Philip's return to Spain was postponed until 1559, while he was in Brussels. Philip said that the expedition's goal was to discover the islands of the West and ordered one to be mounted to the Spice Islands shortly after his return to Spain. Actually, it was tasked with capturing the Philippines of Spain. Between 1 and 1.5 million people are thought to have lived in Luzon and the Visayas at the time of the first Spanish missions, with a low overall population density.
There are so many things that happened to the Philippines during the Spanish colonization. One of the major events is the Cavite Mutiny on 1987. Primarily, Cavite Mutiny has two phases. The 12th June of every year since 1898 is a very important event of all the Filipinos. In this particular day, the entire Filipino nation as well as Filipino communities all over the world gathers to celebrate the Philippine Independence Day. Ever since we are in elementary days, alam na natin ang every important days ng ating kasaysayan. From 1898, 1896, and 1996. We know what happened during those period of time. But we have to remember that as equally historic and significant the history of our country is the year 1872. Because there will be no 1896 Philippine Revolution if there is no 1872 Cavite Mutiny. So later we will find out Why the Cavite Mutiny contributed to the Philippine Revolution. There are two major events that happened in 1872. First, the Cavite Mutiny. Second, the martyrdom of the three priests in the person of Father Mariano Gomez, Jose Burgos, and Jacinto Zamora, also known as the Gomburza. So earlier, I mentioned that the Cavite Mutiny has two phases. We have the Filipino version and the Spanish version. So we will tackle first the Filipino version, but before we go into that, it's important to define what mutiny is. Mutiny is a rebellion against authority. It comes from an old verb mutine, which means revolt. If you remember, the latest mutiny was on 2003 that was led by former Senator Antonio Trillanes IV dahil sila ay nag-aaklas kontra sa administrasyon ni dating Pangulong Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. But eventually, it did not become successful. Going back to the Filipino version, it was written by Dr. Trinidad Hermenegildo de Pardo de Tavera, a Filipino scholar and researcher, wrote a Filipino version of the bloody incident in Cavite. According to Pardo de Tavera, the incident was merely a mutiny by Filipino soldiers and laborers of Cavite Arsenal to the dissatisfaction arising from the draconian policies of Izquierdo, abolition of privileges, and prohibition of the founding of the School of Arts and Trades. Izquierdo was the Governor-General of the Philippines back in the days during the time. If you recall, because we are under Spain, we don't have a president, so it's like Governor-General Izquierdo, who is newcomer in the Philippines, one who lead us or manage the Philippines. When he arrived, he introduced some policies and programs, and this is the Filipino abolition and privilege that the Filipino worker enjoy at the arsenal. So what are those privileges? First, the Filipino worker and soldier are exempted in paying tribute or a form of tax, but only in arsenal. They are also exempted in forced labor or what we call polo y servicio. These are the abolished of Izquierdo, together on top with the founding of School of Arts and Trade. So, Cavite Mutiny, uprising of military personnel of Fort San Felipe, the Spanish arsenal in Cavite, Philippines, on January 20, 1872. Around 200 soldiers and laborers rose up in the belief that it would be elevated to a national uprising. The mutiny was unsuccessful, and government soldiers executed many of the participants. Later on, we will know why it became unsuccessful. Dito na papasok ang Gomburza. Gomburza is the collective name of the three martyred priests. Siyempre, diba, sa isang pag-aalsa, may tinuturong mastermind. Dito sila nadamay. Tagged as the mastermind of the Cavite Mutiny. They were prominent Filipino priests charged with treason and sedition. Yan ang kaso na ibinangga sa tatlong pari. Noong panahon na yun, meron tayong tinatawag na secularization. Ito ay isang movement na kung saan ninanais ng mga lokal na pari or native clergy. Medyo active sila kaya sila ang idinawit ng Spanish government na sila ang mastermind ng Cavite Mutiny. The Spanish clergy connected the priests to the mutiny as a part of conspiracy to stifle the movement of secular priests who desired to have their own parishes instead of being assistants the regular friars. They were sentenced to death and put into trials at sila ay ginarote. Garrote means killing someone by strangulation, typically with an iron wire or cord. In the middle of February 17, 1872, less than a month after the Cavite Mutiny, the Gamburza was executed by Garrote in public to serve as a threat to Filipinos to never attempt to fight the Spaniards again. This is the Spaniards sending a huge message to us not to fight them or else this will happen to you. And this scene was purportedly witnessed by a young Jose Rizal. Of course, if there is a Filipino version, there is Spanish version as well. Spanish version of Cavite Mutiny. It is written by Jose Montero y Vidal. A Spanish historian documented the event and highlighted it as an attempt of the Indus to overthrow the Spanish government in the Philippines. Meanwhile, Governor General Rafael Izquierdo, official report to the King of Spain, magnified the event and made use to it to implicate the native clergy, which was then active in occult secularization. Secularization means magkaroon ng magandang katungkulan ang mga native clergies o mga Pilipinong pari. Dito sa Pilipinas na hindi nagustuhan ng mga prahiling Espanyol. According to the Spanish version, the 1872 mutiny was premeditated o pinagplanuhang mabuti, dictated a part of a big conspiracy among educated leaders, mestizos, lawyers, and residents of Manila and Cavite. They allegedly planned to liquidate high-ranking Spanish officers then kill friars. The accounts detail that on January 20, 1872, the district of Sampaloc celebrated the feast of the origin of the Virgin Loreto. Came with it were some fireworks display. The Caviteños mistook this as the signal to commence with the attack. 200 men was led by Sergeant Lamadrid attacked Spanish officers at sight and seized the arsenal. Izquierdo, upon learning the attack, ordered reinforcement of the Spanish forces in Cavite. In Cavite to quell the revolt. The revolution was easily crushed when Manileños who were expected to aid the Caviteños did not arrive. This is why the mutiny was not successful. So in result, the leaders of the plot were killed. Father Gomez, Burgos, and Zamora were tried by a court-martial and sentenced to be executed. At the same time, merong may ibang important personality figures ang nadawit at nadamay kasama na dito sina Joaquin Pardo de Tavera, Antonio Regidor, Jose Basa, and Pio Basa. And other Filipino lawyers were suspended from the practice of law, arrested and sentenced to life imprisonment at the Marianas Island. For a quick summary, we have two versions. For Filipino, it's a simple mutiny by non-native Filipino soldiers and laborers of the coveted arsenal who turned out to be dissatisfied with the abolition of their privileges. Spanish version, an attempt of the Indus to overthrow the Spanish government in the Philippines. Our Philippine independence can be traced back from the Cavite Mutiny. This is how the revolution related to the Cavite Mutiny. Cavite Mutiny, that of Gamburza, witnessed by Jose Rizal, who then wrote his novels. Jose Rizal's El Filibusterismo, he dedicated it to the Gamburza fathers. Ano ang connection nito sa Philippine Revolution? Dahil ito ay nabasa ng maraming Pilipino, kaya naimpluwensyahan ng Mga sinusulat ni Rizal ang mga kaisipan ng Pilipino at isa na dyan si Andres Bonifacio. Andres Bonifacio embraced somehow the ideas and values of Jose Rizal, and then he put it into action and continued the Philippine Revolution, which then resulted the Philippine independence. Charis lang.
Battle. In 1872, Sergeant Francisco Lamadrid, real leader of the Cavite Munity, which stand 2 days before was killed by Spaniard in Port San Felipe. The Munity was quickly crushed, but the Spanish regime under reactionary Governor Rafael de Izquierdo magnified the incident and used it as an excuse to clamp down on those Filipino who had been calling for governmental reform. A number of Filipino intellectuals were seized and accused of complicity with the mutineers. After a brief trial, three priests, Jose Burgos, Jacinto Zamora, and Mariano Gomez, were publicly executed. The three subsequently became martyrs to the cause of Philippines independence, which led to execution of 41 muniters, including the Gomburza martyrs, prior to being Governor General of Philippines.
Behind the start of Cavite Unity. During a short trials, captured mutineers testified against Father Burgos, was accused of financing revolution with worth 50,000 pesos. The head of the friars' orders decided to implicate Burgos in a plot. A Franciscan friar disguised as Burgos suggests immunity to mutineers. The senior friar used a banquet to convince Governor General that Burgos was the mastermind of a coup. Gomez and Zamora were close associates of Burgos, and Zaldúa was the principal informer against the three priests. His statement was the basis of the conviction, and he was the first to be executed among them on February 17, 1872. The central government in Madrid proclaimed that they wanted to provide the friars of all power in civil government and direction and the management of educational institutions. The friars feared that dominance in the country will become a thing of the past, and the community provide an opportunity to justify their reputation. However, the Spanish government introduced the Philippines institution as the educational degree to improve the standards of educational in the Philippines by requirements competitive examination for teaching positions.
The execution of Gomburza. Three Filipino priests, Father Burgos, Father Gomez, and Father Zamora, were charged with treason, sedition, and subversion by Spanish colonial authorities on February 15, 1872. They were sentenced to death by garrote in Bagumbayan, Philippines, 2 days after their verdict. The charges stemmed from their alleged involvement in an uprising at the Cavite Naval Yard, with Governor General Izquierdo suspecting them of planning to establish a new Filipino government to oppose Spanish rule. The death of Gomburza sparked intense outrage among Filipinos, leading to demands for reforms and exposing the oppressive rule of the Spanish authorities. This tragic event also contributed to the emergence of the propaganda movement, which sought to advocate for reforms and shed light on the injustices committed by the Spanish colonial rulers in the Philippines.
Good day everyone. Today we're discussing about retraction of Rizal. This is a brief explanation and also my own opinion. Okay, Rizal's personal beliefs. Some believe that Rizal, despite his public stand, may have harbored private religious beliefs that led him to a final reconciliation with the Catholic Church. This argument often rests on an interpretation of Rizal's personal letters and writing. Okay, by the way, we all know Rizal is a good and is a smart writer also. He is talented. Okay. Political motivation. The retraction could have been a tragic move by Rizal to appease the Spanish authorities and potentially save his or to protect his family from further persecution. Doubtful handwriting. Okay, let's proceed this in this doubtful handwriting. The document has been questioned by handwriting expert raising doubt about its authenticity. Lack of witness testimony. There's a lack of incredible eyewitness accounts confirming results significant of the documents. This absence of corroborating evidence weakens claims of authenticity. Okay, in this generation, today, many scholars argue that the retraction is considered with results previously expressed beliefs and writings, making it unlikely he would have made such significant change of heart. Okay, the circumstances surrounding the document's discovery and its subsequent handling raise suspicions about potential manipulation or fabrication. Okay. Yeah, like what I told earlier, there are many students or there are many students debating this uh, retraction of Rizal. And yeah, the debate over Rizal's retraction is significant because it impacts how Filipinos viewed their national hero. Yeah, and we all very proud of Rizal because he create amazing and awesome letters and also novels like significant chains of heart. The existence of genuine uh, retraction would challenge this image, while fabricated one underscores the political machination of Spanish colonial era. The debate continues to flowery scholarly discussion and the shape national narratives. Ultimately, the question remains answered leaving room to diverse interpretations and ongoing historical investigation. Yeah, it is a historical investigation. Right now, it's ongoing investigation. As a young person studying history, I find the whole situation incredibly fascinating and frustrating. The lack of conclusive evidence make it impossible to definitively say whether Rizal actually retracted his belief. The debate highlights the importance of critical thinking and careful examination of historical sources. Ultimate, the truth remains exclusive, leaving room for ongoing scholarly discussion and interpretation. It's a reminder that history is often messy, incomplete, and open to multiple perspectives. That's all.
The Cry of Balintawak or Pugadlawin. The Cry of Balintawak, also known as the Cry of Pugadlawin, was a pivotal event in Philippine history that marked the beginning of the Philippine Revolution against Spanish colonial rule. In the late 19th century, the Philippines was a Spanish colony and the Filipino people were growing increasingly discontent with the oppressive and corrupt Spanish regime. The Katipunan, a secret society of Filipino revolutionaries, was formed in 1892 with the goal of overthrowing Spanish rule and achieving independence. On August 23, 1896, Andres Bonifacio, the leader of Katipunan, gathered his men in Balintawak, a district in Caloocan Metro, Manila. The meeting took place in a house near the Tulahan River, which was owned by a Katipunan member. During the meeting, Bonifacio and his men discussed their plans for a revolution against the Spanish. They decided on launch a surprise attack on the Spanish authorities in Manila, which would signal the start of the revolution. The cry as a symbol of their defiance against Spanish rule, Bonifacio and his men tore their cedulas or community tax certificates and shouted slogans such as "Long live Philippines" and "Death of Spain." This act of defiance became known as the city's cry of Balintawak or cry of Pugadlaw.
On August 26, 1896, a significant meeting took place in Balintawak at the house of Apolonio Samson, attended by key leaders including Andres Bonifacio and Emilio Jacinto. Along with delegates from the various provinces, the gathering aims to discuss the timing of uprising against Spanish colonial rule. Bonifacio urged attendees to pledge their commitment to revolt, highlighting the cedula task as a symbol of their oppression. He called for the destruction of cedulas as a powerful act of defiance, signaling their separation from Spain.
Si Pio Valenzuela ay isang mahalagang figuro sa kasaysayan ng Pilipinas. Ipinanganak siya noong Hulyo 11, 1869 sa Pulo, Bulacan. Naging aktibo siya sa Katipunan. Naging Soldier General si Valenzuela ng Katipunan at naging malapit na kaibigan na Andres Bonifacio. Siya rin ang nag-organisa ng maraming mga sangay ng Katipunan sa Bulacan. Naging alkalde siya ng Pulo noong September 6, 1899 at naging District Health Officer noong 1917. Noong 1921, naging gobernador siya ng Bulacan. Kasabay nito, si Valenzuela ay may mahalagang papel sa City of Pugadlawin. Ang unang pag-alsa laban sa mga Espanyol, nagsimula ang pag-alsa sa Pugadlawin noong Agosto 23, 1886. Ang kanyang nagawa ay kinukulala hanggang ngayon at siya ay tinuturing na isa sa mga bayani ng Pilipinas.
Let's proceed to the next number, which is number 3, Santiago Alvarez. Santiago Alvarez recounts the journey and preparation leading to the cry of Balintawak under the leadership of Supremo Andres Bonifacio. On the night of August 21, 1896, a group of revolutionaries braved heavy rain and muddy fields, trekking silently to Cancun. Exhausted and shocked, they arrived at the house of Apolonio Samson early the next morning. There they rested and dried their clothes. By dawn, August 22, Bonifacio began organizing the men, placing guards of strategic points. Approximately 300 revolutionaries armed with a variety of weapons such as bolos, spear, dagger, a few revolvers, and a revolver, had a symbol ready to take part in revolution.
The last days of Andres Bonifacio. Andres Bonifacio is the supreme leader of Katipunan. Bonifacio was restless because of the fear of sudden attack by the enemy. It, it is a Sunday, August 23, 1896. As early as the 10 o'clock in the morning, the district of the Quezon City, which is a part of Greater Manila, at the barn of Kawisa Matura, at the place called Sampalucan, barrio of Bahay Toro. Katipuneros meet together about 500 of these arrived. Reader eager to join the Supremo Andres Bonifacio and his men. The next day, Monday, August 24, 1896, there were about 1,000 total of Katipuneros. The Supremo decided to hold a meeting inside the barn. Under his leadership, the meeting began at 10 o'clock in the morning. It was 12 noon when the meeting adjourned amidst loud cries of the "Long live the son of the country! Mabuhay ang mga anak ng bayan!" That's it for a video. Thank you!